Great. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us to this conversation. I'm Moshira Gashenge, and today's guest is none other than Cate Wanjiru. She's a pharmaceutical scientist by profession, but one who is practicing as a writer, actually a published author, and an editor as well. Today, we're going to talk about mental health, her writing journey, and why the transition from science to writing and what both fields have to do with it. So, karibu sana Kate to Zero Chills.
Thank you very much, Moshira. Thank
Yeah, we are
you
glad to
for the
have you.
invite. Okay,
And
thank you.
congratulations on the release of your new book, Scars and Healing. It's no mean feat by any
It's
means.
cousin
So,
healing. Yes, thank you very much.
great.
Yeah.
Now, we would like to know one, what Scars and Healing is all
Okay.
about. Yeah.
Mhm. Scars and Healing is a collection of prose and poetry. In it, I have covered themes such as assault, heartbreak, losses, and I've also covered healing from relationships, from assault, from just other stuff, maybe different kinds of losses generally, and a
Yeah.
bit of resilience and growth and love. So I've tried as much as possible to cover different aspects in mental health.
Yeah. And your book is,
Yes, yes.
it's a prose and poetry. So it does not say it takes one particular
Mhm.
style. What informs the mixture of both styles that you take both fiction and both poetry? Why that
Yeah.
sign of fluidity?
I think that was easier because what I've realized is sometimes when you are writing, there are those messages that you can pass with a simple statement like 2, 3 lines, and that is enough. The more you try to make it long, the more you'll dilute the message. And there are others which require you to dive really deep and try to incorporate a lot of people or a lot of experiences into the entire the entire flow of it. So I think it's just a matter of what are you trying to pass across. Because if it's something that just you can tell it in 2, 3 lines and people understand it, then there is no need of you going all the way trying to make it into a chapter or 5, 6 paragraphs.
Yeah, that's quite understandable because we say poetry is at the height of brevity and complexity, which means now
Yes,
there
yes.
are some messages which adapt that format of you say a
Mm,
lot using few words, and then there are others
yeah,
which come maybe to provide analogies. I think that is
yeah.
quite masterful. How was the experience writing the book?
Oh my God. It is tough. I think it's tough like in anything else because this is a project that you want to benefit from for years. You're not just writing to sell to your friends, you want it to reach someone else who maybe may never get a chance of meeting you, and you wanted them to take something from it and tell someone else. So it was really tough, of course, trying to cover different aspects of the mental health because some of them you're drawing from your experiences. And when you're drawing from your experiences, people can get a different image about you. In as much as you are writing and you are free to express yourself, there is still a part of you that will still care. What does my sister think? What does my mother think of this section? So it was tough, but I did my best, and yeah.
And here we are talking about it. So congratulations. And by the way, today is when you are releasing the book out to the readers, right?
Thank you.
That must be really great. I think we have a wicked read, and soon
Yes,
we'll be
yes,
launching it
yes.
here at Zero Cheers. Maybe you would like to show us the book cover.
Here it is. So yeah.
Yeah, I can start imagining what's in the book already. And I hope you're going to release it to us. By the end of the show, you'll tell us how much and where to get the copy of the book. Now, okay, it's interesting that you are a pharmaceutical scientist, but at the same time, you jump ship. I think you shifted from the hand science
Yes, of
side of
course.
science, and now you are practicing as a full-time writer and editor.
Mm-hmm.
What informed the decision?
Mm-hmm. 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 I can't really say at this point. I can't really say that I've transitioned from science to literally. I'm still in between there because, but I've always loved the literary world. So at one point, I knew that I will do something really significant in the field. But at the same time, even if I'm not practicing my profession full time, I do try to do it over the weekends or whenever I get time for it. So it's not really a full transition. I'm still in between the two worlds, but I'm more focused on the literary world. In the
Yeah,
health sector, in the mental health only.
that's interesting because we are coming to the next part. You are an ardent advocate of mental health, and I know it really means a lot to you. Maybe you take us back, you rewind us to where it started and where you feel like, I need this level of awareness, and I think mental health is a subject that needs to be consistently addressed. At what point did that happen?
Mm, yeah, yeah. Mhm. Yeah. Uh, I think there are some experiences in my very far past that drove me into mental health. But I think my involvement in it started when I was in campus. We had this health drive where we were talking to people who are living with HIV and AIDS. And as you interact with them, you hear the depth of the problems that they are facing. Some of them do not access the healthcare services easily. Some of them are stigmatized. Some of them can't even go to the shops to buy essentials because people think you will infect them. It's the 21st century, but even a shopkeeper thinks if I give you this matchbox and I touch it and you touch it, I'll be infected with the money. So now I started getting very involved in that. I led some health drives there, and then some personal experiences also drove me into it. And then growing up, you just find yourself amongst people who need some bit of help, either some bit of talking, friendly chats, or referral to a mental health counselor. So I think it's life which was pushing me to just focus on that sphere.
Yeah, it's interesting when you tell me that most of what you've done, rather, what pulled you was your experiences from what you observe from others and also your maybe lived experiences in the past. Yeah, that was drove you to. Since then, how has it been for you, like a journey? Because at some point you've told me mental health is an everyday task. It's a responsibility. What
Yes,
informs you
yes.
that you are doing right
Yeah.
by in the mental health side, or that you okay? You are
Mm.
taking that task seriously, or you are putting
Yeah.
yourself to task rather.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. I don't think we don't have a checklist that says this is what you can take to know that you are mentally fit, because most of the times you are the only person who really knows if you are okay. Yeah, we can be told you have to feel satisfied, but you are the person to measure the amount of satisfaction you feel in, maybe in your career, in your relationships, in the kind of people that you hang out with. So the checking whether you are mentally fit will always be a personal decision. Now, it's only in extreme cases where you find that people around you are recognizing that this person is not okay, but it always starts with you before it breaks out into the public.
Well, quite often than not, you see, people have, especially during the previous years, the statistics of people suffering from depression as one of the mental disorders have gone high. And I believe it's due to the extreme and radical changes that came into our lives, following the coronavirus pandemic and other challenges that came. Now, we've always been told that men tend to look stoic or to act stoic or to not reach out to people. And I know you, both as a writer, as an advocate of mental health, you've been quite ardent. What has your experience been? Is that just a myth, or is it something that really exists? Are there people who don't feel comfortable reaching out, or
Mhm,
do we just have that as a stereotype?
mhm, 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 yeah, mhm, mhm.
Yeah, Katie, if you can hear me. Yeah, looks like you're frozen, but if you can hear me, what's your experience with people out there who, about reaching out for assistance or trying to talk to someone about their mental health status? What has your experience been? Yeah, so if you're joining us now, we have on board a published author, Cate Wanjiru. She's also a mental health advocate, and she just released her new book, Scars and Healing, in which it's a compilation of both prose and poetry. And she's talking about mental health, healing, the pains, and the things that people more often than not feel like it's not necessary for them to talk about here or publicly. So some end up bottling up the emotions. They end up feeling like it's not quite right from the depths of their hearts to speak up about the things that they are going through. But we've seen the rise in, you know, mental health cases, and especially, especially the cases in depression, and that has really, really been accelerated by the previous incidents, and especially the coronavirus pandemic and its after effects, socioeconomic and cultural after effects. So we are having a discussion on how you can take care of your mental health, how you can find it necessary to reach out to people or to reach out for assistance when you feel that things are going quite extreme. I think we've lost her a bit, but she's joining us to talk about her book and her transition. And what she has said, she's just in between science and the literary world, which means she practices in both sides. Being a pharmaceutical scientist, she practices as a scientist in the health sector, and at the same time as a literally uh, as a writer. Welcome back, Kate. We were just talking about your new book, Scars and Healing, and just saying that the subject in therein is
Okay.
inclusive of hair healing, pain, and the things that people sometimes find it a very great fit to open up and to reach out for help. I was just saying that you released your new book, Cats and Healing, which you've shown us the cover of the
Yeah.
book, and you are an advocate of mental health,
Yeah.
and I had just asked, what
Yes.
has your experience been about people reaching out for help? Because stereotypically, we've learned to know that men, especially, find it very difficult to reach out for help, to show the is it weak side or the more the weak side,
Mm-hmm.
what is considered more feminine side. What has your experience been with people?
Yeah. Yeah, I think yes, of course. That bit I agree that men, yeah, they find it hard, a little bit hard to get the mental health services because we don't have. There are not few, very few people are educated that mental health does not discriminate. It does not care whether you are a CEO of a certain company. It's grief that you are dealing with. It can break you as much as it can break a farmer in a remote area. It's only that this person with with the resources can access the mental health services in a more private manner. So for that gender to be able to go out, we have to do a lot of mass education. We can not just say they don't reach out. We have to do more than that because we have talked enough that yes, we know they do not reach out as much, and we are the problem. So we start by admitting we are the problem. We have to break these barriers that we make for them. In as much as we are pushing them, we are also placing walls on the path. So at the end of the day, nothing changes. So yeah, I think a lot of mass education can resolve that.
You've mentioned mass education, and that I think translates to creating awareness.
Yes.
How do you feel, when you go out there saying you have a problem? Mental health is a very unique, uh, should I call it problem or disorder rather? It's a very
Mm-hmm.
unique experience because sometimes
Mm-hmm.
you don't even know what to say, you don't know how to
Yeah.
say it, but you just feel
Yeah.
you have a problem with you. Do you think we
Yeah.
have gotten to a level of awareness where you can say now this, I don't feel okay and I need assistance? In terms of awareness, where are we?
Where are we? I think we are very on a low level of scale. Maybe on a scale of 1 to 10, we are at 2. Yeah, just generally, even if there are some who are just more educated, I think I would rate it on an average of 2. Because I'll just give an example of my experience in writing. I try as much as possible to just talk about maybe fears in the natural way that they occur. But someone else will read that and say, maybe this person is just a crybaby. This person, why can't you just, okay, stop complaining? But they are not getting, I'm not complaining. I have to deal with this emotion first, this emotion of anger, before I can move on to the next phase. So, for maybe the content of mental health, for someone to understand why you are writing what you are writing, they maybe have to know there are different levels. If you are healed and you are reading content about someone who is maybe depressed or maybe someone who is just angry, there is always the probability of you judging them. So for the mass education, I think yeah, we still really need to do a lot, not just saying these are the kinds of mental health statuses that are mental health disorders that are available. We have to break it down. You can be lonely, you can be feeling empty, you can just be in a mix of emotion where you can't even place a name on your specific statuses. So in as much as we are doing the awareness, we have to be really, really specific on what we are dealing with for the whole campaigns to be effective.
Yeah, and I think that is quite important when you talk about the need for us to, not only look at the stages in which we are all dealing with mental health. Instead, we should be
Mhm.
focused about the whole or the collective itself. And now, I've always considered you a
Yeah.
psychotherapist, by extension, being a writer and one who advocates for
Mhm.
mental health because you soothe
Yeah.
us. Your words are meant for healing,
Mm.
to
Mm.
interact with our deepest human emotions. I'm just wondering how you get yourself to move yourself from the
Oh, thank
kid,
you.
the individual author, and then to try and dive in into those deep emotions and interrogate them on our behalf. Because when I read what you've written, I'll say,
Mm.
hey, look at myself. These are my weaknesses. You've really
Oh.
broken them down for me. And I feel, yeah, I'm confident I can interrogate them. How does it get that far?
Mm. Actually, someone else asked me that question, and I drew most of what I write from my personal life. But I just take a snippet and try to make it expand to cover different people. For example, you can be mourning the loss of a job, but you can write it in a way that it captures someone who maybe has lost a loved one, has lost just something like a house, just anything that can leave you feeling vulnerable and empty. So I think that's just mastery of just what you are really doing. When you focus on it, when you focus on your niche so much, sometimes these things come out naturally. And I've also reached a level where I'm not ashamed of these emotions. If I have to write about shame, I just write it about it naturally as it is, because it's natural and it's part of your healing, moving from this state of confusion to the
Uh-huh.
next state of mental stability and everything.
Yeah, that's interesting. You've said, I mentioned a curious thing there, that it's a question of developing your niche and growing in it. Because I'm sure no one
Yeah.
sat you down and taught you this is how you write about human emotions, this is how you interrogate human challenges and all that. And now that you are a writer, well-read writer, and also an editor, what's your experience with readers,
Yeah.
especially what's our preference? You write to us a book about human emotions and one that is more relatable. One, I think it's a psychological book. And what do you think is the readership of such journal of books compared to fiction?
Mm-hmm. 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 I think I can't put them on the same class, but I think when it comes to some of these personal matters like fear or insecurity or these deep emotions that we are ashamed of, most people will not tell you that hit me. They just take it within themselves, but they got the message. But when it comes to maybe fiction, just a story, there is always the probability of someone telling you, I loved your novel. But now we are writing maybe just a piece about maybe a lady begging a man to stay with her. I don't think anyone can go online and say this, I can relate with this. You just take it and know that this is what I maybe done or maybe I've contemplated doing, but they cannot comment. But I think they all apply, they all have their own place with. So yeah, it's only that the reaction online may not always reflect the impact of the message.
Yeah, we've talked about your motivation to writing, and you also said most of what you write you draw from personal experiences, and that's why I think it's quite relatable, to us when we read Scars and Healing,
Mm-hmm.
and we imagine the situations in which we have been before, and we see the same presented in a book that
Mm-hmm.
I'm reading. I feel that is quite a relatable thing, and I like it in that manner.
Yeah.
And you've mentioned niche. Again, I'm coming back to that. Defining your niche in
Mm-hmm.
deciding this is the subject that I want to talk about. What does it move you like?
Mm-hmm.
I could be maybe, for example, motivated by the need to generate quick
Mm-hmm.
sales, and then I'll write something like
Mm-hmm.
7 ways to get rich quick. I know that is something that people will want to
Mm-hmm.
read. Yeah. But now you talk about
Yeah.
scarcity and you define that as part of your niche.
Mm-hmm.
What is the central motivation to
Mm-hmm.
deciding this is my niche, this is the hill that I want to live and die on?
Mm-hmm. I think when it comes to niche, of course, it all comes down to your values and your principles. You can write that book, as you are saying, of 7 quick ways to get rich online, but you forget once the people buy that and you get the riches, that is it. They will not come back, even if you have something else that is relatable and that is very true, that is not a scam, the chances of them going back to buy it are very low. But it all comes down to your principles. So it's all, I would say, just write what you feel should be written. Even if you don't get the rewards instantly, there is that sense of fulfillment and the money will come, whether it comes in the book, in other opportunities. Yeah, and yeah, it will come.
Well, being an editor, I think I'm privileged to be asking you this question. We've always talked about
Yeah.
visibility. You've actually published on Amazon and other web
Mm-hmm.
platforms where you generate sales for your books. And you are also a publisher, I know, really for producing the hard copy books which we stock in the bookstores necessarily. Now, if we
Yeah.
are talking about sales and marketing, because every creative, every seller, every creator has to find a way to be also a good salesperson. So, what has your experience been through mainstream? Because most self-published writers go that way because they want to get an easy way and do the sales by themselves and get along doing that business alone. And then you are in the mainstream business of publishing. What would you say is the difference between the two when it comes to selling your craft?
There are people who, even if you promise them that I can help you sell the book, they'll always prefer the self-publishing option to take control of the finances. Because if you tell the person, maybe I'll take 10% of what we make from the book, the person does not want that. So what I've realized so far is people go with what works for them. You can list the benefits of going mainstream or just doing the whole work by yourself, and someone will say, yeah, I'm fine, I'll just take what I know, what I want, and that is what I will stand with. So I'm really grateful that we're in an age where we have the flexibility, we have the options of either going both ways, one way, or yeah. Yes.
I think that is a bit interesting where we are presented with choices, and thanks to technology, we can choose to publish at a go or
Yeah.
we can choose to go a more established way. And now, you see, when you have
Yes.
both ways presented to you, and you can decide. You've told me that when you tell a writer that you are keeping back a certain percentage of their royalties, we find that a bit difficult to do, especially because you don't know for how long your book will take in the bookstores before it is um, it is noted by a potential buyer. Then here comes another
Yeah.
question. Book Books are taxed here in our country, and that is one of the factors that make it a
Yeah.
bit more costly. What other challenges, rather, what other inhibitors which make people drawn more to other
Okay.
channels of publishing other than going the mainstream way?
Mm-hmm. 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 And I also think the lies that are mostly sold of the publisher taking your book and never being truthful about the amount of sales. I think People take the lies too far, and some of them are not even don't even have ground. So, and if someone just believes that and they are not open to being corrected or getting the facts and considering the options, of course they'll just say, okay, that is what happens. Even if it has not happened in my country and it has happened elsewhere, I cannot take the chances. So even the lies contribute that, to the choices.
Maybe now we have the opportunity to know,
Mhm,
is there a model, a particular model that
mhm,
writers do have
mhm,
or are presented with to know exactly these are the number of copies that were published and printed out, and this is the number of
mhm.
copies that have been sold. Does such a model exist?
Yes, I think publishers do have. They always tell you what is happening to your book. If maybe someone found your book in a bookstore and they want to contact you for work or an event, and they don't have your personal contacts, they will always reach out to the publisher, and the publisher will contact you. So a publisher, they cannot just print your book and take it to a bookstore without your permission. They will always tell you someone is somewhere is requesting for 100 copies. Do you agree? Yes, you proceed. I don't think they someone who is still in the market and still doing that shady business of
I, I,
underground
I
deals.
I get that. Coming from you who sits in the board and also the editorial board of a publishing
Yeah.
house, I think it's
Mm,
it's worth noting. Also, Kate, there is
mm,
another thing we've talked about, linking the authors, the creators to the market.
mm,
Sometimes
mm,
it's the responsibility of the writer to go out there saying, I have a book out. This is my book. You might want to read it.
mm.
You might like it, but then it's been
Yes.
published out there.
Mm, mm,
Do you feel that there is a gap between
mm,
the creators and the audience, the writers and the people who read the books? There is a gap there. And what are we doing? Do you think we have enough creative literary communities to bridge the gaps? Are we doing enough or are we slacking on that thing?
We are trying. That is the word. We are trying. Nowadays, there are so many events, cultural events, or just networking events where our artists, authors, or just different kinds of people can go and talk and share what they do. So even if we are just not at a level where we can say we are satisfied with the level of reading in the country, we are doing our best. Not our best,
Yeah,
but we are in the process of doing our best.
we are really trying. And so, which means
Yes,
there is still room for improvement on how we get the
yes.
books out there. And part of the ways which have existed before in
Mhm,
informing the people that there is a book out include the reviews, such
mhm,
conversations as this that we are having and other literally. But now the pandemic has thrust a challenge to us and we are more focused on doing it online. What do you feel? Do you
mhm,
think the online thing, the virtual, maybe virtual book launch, virtual book release, virtual um, book discussions are really enabling us meet that market gap and reach to the audience, or are we just putting too much effort which are not yet getting us to where we are heading?
Yeah, of course we have to adapt, and if virtual is what is available, let us take that. Yeah, they do play their part, because even if you are doing a physical launch, you can advertise it to 500 people, but maybe not everyone will turn up. And you can do the same for a virtual launch, and you find that 100 people have turned up. So yeah, they do have their place. Also, even if we don't have the opportunity to interact physically, nowadays people are hosting their events online where you can still go, and as people interact, you tell them, hey, I have this book, would you mind reading it and telling me how it is, maybe to give a review. Or even if it's a focused market where the book is a very good resource, you tell them, by the way, as an addition, I have this book. So the difference may be we are just not used to it, but I think it's playing its part right now, because We cannot just keep our books beside and say we will wait until we have the opportunity to interact physically.
I think that makes sense that we
Mm-hmm.
are adapting to the new ways of doing things, the new
Mm-hmm.
normal, because of course after all we have to survive the new changes,
Yeah.
and we have to
Yeah.
put ourselves out there. So the
Yes.
experience with marketing, I've really seen you being quite vocal on your page and advancing the same
Mm.
beliefs that you say
Mm.
define you and define your
Mm.
writing and define your niche.
Yeah.
What has been your experience? Is it talking about your work out there or what people know you for that works for you?
I think I like talking about my work more than myself, even if they are closely connected. But the marketing journey has not been easy. I'm still learning the different kinds of needs that people have and trying to meet them to the best of my ability.
So sort of it's a continuous process to
Yeah.
advance your books, and but I also believe it's difficult to separate the writer and the writing,
Yes.
to
Yes.
separate
Yes.
yourself with selling to me the book and the book that
Yes.
you've
Yes.
authored, right? So
Yes.
creating a brand itself, what effort has it taken you to create the brand, to create the brand that is Kate? You know me, if I know you as a writer, I know you in the sense that you're a writer who speaks to the soul. That is it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how,
Mm-hmm.
but I would like you to tell me whether it's an intentional effort you put to be
Yeah.
known as such, or it's
Yeah.
just a happenstance.
What is it? I don't know. I think it's 50-50. I'm not really sure. So I think it's maybe, am I intentional? Yes, I'm intentional right now, but I think in the beginning it was just happened. It's just happened.
Now, that's interesting. It just happened that we know you as the writer because through reading whatever you write, we can know where to
Yeah.
place you. If perhaps you would
Yeah.
have been writing humor, we would know Kate is a
Yeah.
humorist and your work that
Yeah.
comes from you is likely to be humor or comic. And now we know you
Yeah.
as such. So basically, creating your work is getting yourself. There are people who feel like uh, okay, you didn't begin as who you are today. You are more accomplished,
Yes.
you are more
Mm-hmm.
established, but then you
Mm-hmm.
didn't start sharing your work now. It's been a
Yeah.
journey of you sharing your
Mm.
writing and all that. Where does
Yeah.
that confidence to share your work when you don't feel like I'm
Eh,
really good at this, I'm still growing at it, I'm still learning, but then I'll still share, put it out there.
yeah.
What's that motivation? Where does it come from?
Yeah, there is always the fear of how will these people take me, but I always keep the mantra of I have to help someone out there. So that one keeps me just going. Whatever happens, I even if I am not feeling the need of sharing, I'll just do it, looking beyond myself.
So basically, you look beyond yourself and what the work will do, and you say,
Yes,
"Now I've
yes,
written my piece. Whatever, whoever just
yeah. I
whoever comes
console
across it
myself
will
with
benefit."
I console myself with if I'm feeling very sad, I'm not the only person who is feeling sad. So I'll just say, okay, I will not keep this to myself. Let me just share. It may help just one person out of 10 who will see it. And if one person reads it and says, wow, there is someone out there who is dealing with this emotion. So I think
Yeah.
I've accomplished my mission of the day.
Wow, I think that is a
Yeah.
greater motivation where you look beyond yourself.
Yeah.
Now, Kate, being an editor and also a publisher, you have the
Mm-hmm.
advantage of knowing what makes a good manuscript, what makes a good copy, what makes a book
Mm-hmm.
that is both useful to the reader and also sellable. So, would you
Mm-hmm.
maybe share with us the basics of what makes a book worthy of publishing and taking out there to the people?
Okay. First of all, you have to narrow down on what you want to write about. If maybe you are writing about let's say real estate. Real estate is a very wide field. but you have to narrow it down. So whenever we are considering these books for markets, for publishing and editorial work and just everything, the entire thing of of publishing, we always want it to have covered a certain area. That way it will be easy for you to target it to someone, instead of now saying, okay, I'll just write a book about real estate and just throw it out there hoping that someone will find it useful. No, if you do that, you may never get anything from it. So we say at first, if you decide I am writing a book for children, teaching them
Mhm.
about morals or teach them about Christ, stick to that. Even if someone else has written about maybe personal finance for children and it's more profitable, but you feel that if you try that it will not work, please just avoid it. Stick to what you can and understand your style. How do you like to present it? If, for example, we are looking at even personal finance, there are those who prefer illustrations to pass the message. There are those who prefer examples. There are those who just prefer the general style of just giving the instructions. So whichever you feel is your style, just stick to it, because the more you try to be like other people, you may just give up along the way when you feel like the content is not coming out naturally.
Yeah, that's interesting that we insist the writers ought to find a niche or ought to decide what they are good at to start there, before you
Yeah.
even look at how much it will generate to me in terms of money when I put it out there.
Mhm.
So that's the
Yeah.
basic yardstick that you consider before deciding this is a
Mhm.
manuscript worth publishing.
Mhm. But you also have to know your audience. Who are you writing for?
Yeah.
You are writing with your own style, but you have to consider these people. I am writing for a parent. So which language can I use for this parent to understand? I'm writing for children. Which language will I use for them to understand? Just getting to the specifics that can help you to write very easily and to actually enjoy the whole process.
That's quite, I think, talking about audiences, looking to be more inclusive in your craft. That I'm not just
Yes.
writing into a vacuum. Instead, I'm writing
Yes.
to a particular group of people, or you can define your audience. So for you, how do you
Yeah.
define your audience when you say, I am writing this book? Who are your primary audience?
Young adults.
So basically, adults. Can you just say any adult
Young
who reads
adults.
the book
No,
will, or young
no.
adults?
Yes, maybe between 20 and 32, 33, around there.
That's interesting. And those who are
Mhm.
necessarily, if I may add, you tell me if I'm right, those who might
Mhm.
find it important to explore their human emotions.
Yes, yes, yes.
Indeed. You've told us that for you to consider whether a book is worth of publishing, you look at whether the audience is well defined and if
Mhm.
whoever is writing is quite good at the field that they have chosen to be.
Mhm.
That's basically the yardstick that you use to decide whether this book is meeting the card for what you can put out there, right?
Yeah. Mhm.
And beyond that, beyond the ideal of judging the usefulness of the manuscript, as a publisher, what else do you do to support the writer along the way?
When we get a manuscript and you read and you feel like there are some gaps or there are the content is not presented in a way that will impact the target audience, we always advise the writer, okay, this is, I think you need to go back to the drawing line and think about your audience. Maybe this language is maybe too complicated for them, unless you want to expand, or maybe you need it to elevate more so it doesn't look like you're insulting their level of knowledge. So, and sometimes we give them guidelines, like if you don't really know what you wanted to write, we sit together and we just talk about it like a story. And that way you will be able to capture this person's message. And as you ask more questions around that niche, you'll help them. Yeah, that is what I think you really wanted to pass across, but you need to work on it to bring it out more clearly.
Yeah, I mean, you mean you provide the critique to
Yes.
the writers and they guide them
Mhm.
through writing their
Yes.
manuscript, right? I think
Yes.
that is important. And for you as an individual, do you have a community literally around you who maybe read your manuscripts ahead of time and they tell you this is what you feel about it? Are you
Yeah.
surrounded yourself maybe with editors or other writers who read your class?
Yes, I have.
And how has the experience been sharing your work? Do you have to trust me to share your work or you give it for an honest review? How does that work? I may not want to hurt your
Yeah.
feelings by saying
Yeah.
this. I
I
don't
tell
feel
them
like
to
this is
be I tell them to at least read the content as an editor and as a reader. So when you are giving the critique, I will know which side I have maybe failed on. Is it on presenting the content to the reader, or is it in making it suitable for editing? And I also, in as much as you are receiving the feedback, you also have to go back to your line. Maybe this person did not understand the content in the way that you wanted to pass it across. So there is always that room of no, I think you misunderstood. This is what I wanted to say, and I will stick to it.
great. Because I believe a literary community is very important for
Mm-hmm.
people. You know, you get another pair of eyes to look at what
Yeah,
maybe you haven't
yeah,
seen while you're writing. As we draw
yeah.
to the end of this conversation, Kate, like how long does it take you to, write your book? How long has it taken you to bring us discuss and healing to light?
Oh, 1 month. This
One
one
month?
took 1 month.
One
Yeah.
month? You mean
Yes.
writing from page one to blab? Just a 1 month. Hey, now I
Yeah,
believe
this
you
one
really
took.
mastered your niche. Would you maybe have something you'd like to read for us, an excerpt from Scars and Healing? Yeah, you may just choose an excerpt for yourself, whether a poem or part of a prose, and read aloud for
Oh,
us. Yeah, as a precursor to our main reading. We'll get the books after this. You're going to tell us how we get to contact you.
all right, all right. Just a minute.
Okay.
I think I can read something on healing.
Yeah,
I'm
sure,
trying
sure.
to. It should be on which page? This one is about the whole concept of seeking help when you feel that you need it. Mushira.
Yes, Kate. You can go ahead and read the
All
section
right,
for
all
us.
right.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so this one I have titled it as Chances. I will not read the entire thing, but I'll read some sentences. So it goes
Yeah.
like this. If you get a hand up, a shoulder to lean on, or any kind of help, take it. Put your ego aside, silence the little bitch inside your head that comes at such times to make you dissect the intention, doubt it, and turn it down. In spite of what you may think about other people, some are sent straight from heaven to you. They do not know anything about manipulation, and their intention, their mission in your life is to help you. Most of them arrive at the perfect time to redirect you when you're just one step away from sliding and hitting bottom, one word away from ruining everything. They come to give you a push forward that you know that you need. So what I have utilized there is the words you know you need, because there are so
Uh-huh.
many times when we know we need help,
Yeah.
but you are trying so hard to deny that.
Yeah.
Everything is telling you I need to see someone. But every day you're trying to sing this mantra, I am fine, but it's not working. So this
Yeah.
is my way of telling people, when you get to that point, just take it. Obey your mind, obey your heart, obey your body. Just take that chance.
Basically, you are calling out some of us who act all okay, but we know deep down we are hurting or we need someone to speak to. I am not sure how easy that
Yeah.
is, but like we talked about awareness, we will keep um, pushing ourselves and saying we do not have everything it takes. Sometimes we need a helping hand, and I think that is a great piece where you speak to me and tell me, yeah. Also, you in your writing, I find something interesting, which I believe builds into the relatability. You talk to me like when you do something using the second person point of view. I think that's a very interesting. Why that particular choice? Do you have a reason?
I don't. I actually like switching between the first and the second point of view. I think the
Yeah,
first one makes it very personal. And sometimes I try to balance, because sometimes when you use too much of the second, I see it looks like the writer is pointing on the reader. And if
yeah,
maybe you are dealing with a delicate matter, they can see like you are judging them. Maybe you are trying to pass a message around the whole concept of letting go. And the more you are just hitting there, like let go with all the words that you have chosen, and this person is struggling, he or she might think, oh, okay, this book is just too harsh for me right now. I'll just keep it and read it at a later date. So
uh-huh.
I try to balance the two, even if it's not what I am struggling with right today. Maybe I struggled with it yesterday, and I want to tell someone who is struggling with it today what to do. I'll still use the first person for this person to feel like I'm not judging you. This is
Yeah.
something that happens everywhere, and I think that personalizes it really well.
I know. I think I'm curious. Have you received such kind of feedback where somebody says, "Yo, kid, you spoke about me. You are talking about me," and especially someone with whom you have shared, say, a cup of
Yes.
coffee, which means you had a discussion around a
Mhm.
subject, and then they come
Mhm.
across something similar in your book. Have you had such instances where somebody
Yeah.
comes and says, "Kid, this is our story. We just decided to write it in a book." Has it ever happened?
Yes. Yeah, I have come across that, and as I am saying, like when you are talking about these deep emotions, some people cannot acknowledge it online, but someone will always slide into your DM and tell you, yeah, you wrote about me. Are you spying on me or something? Like as a joke, but you know the message is home.
I think that is quite interesting, and it's a way of telling you you have accomplished your goal, you have met your target
Yes.
for writing that particular piece. And I think that is somewhat
Yeah.
so fulfilling to you as a writer.
Yes, yes.
Great. Kate, now before you tell us about how you are going to get scars and healing, by the way, we are so excited here at Zero Chills to be the first people to have a conversation around your book. Being the first day
Thank
when
you
we are
very much for the
releasing it to the
invite.
market, that you are
Yeah.
releasing it today and we are talking about the book today means you got all our best wishes. When it comes to us, we're going
Yeah,
to
thank
read
you.
and set back those roving reviews and also share it out with people. So before you get to tell us how we are
Uh,
going to get that text, what are
mhm,
the things that are fulfilling to you as a writer? Not necessarily related to your writing, related to your career, but which you find that build you, and they
mhm,
make you who you are.
mhm.
Yeah.
Stories of people conquering like finance. finance is a field that I'm very interested in, especially people building unique stuff or just revolutionizing things that are around us and getting a lot from it, whether it's just recognition or money. I'm also interested in stories, humor stories. What else? Autobiographies. I think I read almost everything under the sun.
Okay, that's interesting. I also love memoirs and biographies because they are a way of allowing me to get into the lives of other people, which is quite
Yes,
interesting.
yes.
So,
Mhm.
Kate, you've been speaking to an audience. You've been talking to us about mental health and writing and publishing and all that. What are your final words to those who are listening to you? And then you attach that to where we can find your books, at what price, and how we can get to contact you. Yeah, you got the
Oh, I
time.
have. Okay, my book will be available at Nuria. So it's actually available right now at Nuria. You can also contact me on my number. I think we'll attach it in the description box or something. It's 0702922330. Or you can also find my page online under the same name, Catherine Wanjiru. My final words in the concept of mental health is don't feel ashamed of whatever you are dealing with. If you don't have ready support, like immediate support in terms of professional, just go online and read people's stories. That will encourage you to just keep pushing whatever you are dealing with. If you can't find any stories that are relatable to you, write whatever you are feeling, just write it down. You may be surprised that after 1 month or 2 months of documenting your life story, it turns out to be a memoir or just a collection of short stories or just or a novel around other incorporating other stories. Yes.
Well, thank you so much, Kate, for making time here to visit us at Zero Chills and to talk to us about your book. We will continue the conversation, and we are certainly going to
Okay.
acquire a copy of Care and Healing from Nuria and also directly from you. And by the way, we are setting up a shop here at Zero Chills, so you are
Yes.
very welcome to stock up the book with us, and our
Mhm.
audience will be happy to get them from you.
That is good.
Yeah, sure, indeed. We'll have a chat
That
about
is
that
good.
much later. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us this conversation today.
Mhm.
And as we take a break, we hope that you will continue following the previous conversation and stay on our channel. Please get Kate's book from Nuria and from her directory, and you can also contact Zero Chills for that. Until we meet next time, have a very, very wonderful weekend and please stay safe. Kate, please stay with us.